Good morning all my dear student. So this it is our lecture number 3 for UV visible spectroscopy. In this lecture we will see what is instrumentation and applications of UV visible spectroscopy. This one it is the UV visible spectrophotometer. Here we will see the single beam spectrophotometer. One more spectrophotometer is there, and that is double beam spectrophotometer. But today we will see only single beam spectrophotometer. The instrument that is used to measure the amount of electromagnetic radiation absorbed by the substance is called spectrophotometer or spectrometer. So this one it is the spectrophotometer. Now here we can see the block diagram of this spectrophotometer. One by one we will see the components of this spectrophotometer. First one is the source. So this source, from that source we can get the polychromatic radiation. Then comes monochromator. Monochromator consists of two slits. One it is an entrance and second one it is exit slit. In between that there is the dispersion device. Then the next one is sample cuvette, where we can keep our sample, and last one it is the detector. So now one by one we will see that components of this single beam spectrophotometer in detail. So this one it is the first component. First component is source of radiation. What is function of this source of radiation? It generates a beam of polychromatic radiation which covers the desired range. Now for example, if the desired range it is from 300 to 700 nanometer, this it is required for our UV and visible. So for that we can use tungsten filament lamp. If the desired range it is from 200 to 400 nanometer, then for that we can use quartz hydrogen lamp or deuterium lamp. That can be used. Again, what is function of source of radiation? That is, it generates a beam of polychromatic radiation. Then the next component. Next component is monochromator. Monochromator consists of two slits. One it is entrance slit and second one is exit slit. In between these two slits there can be collimator or grating or prism. Now what is function of this monochromator? This function of monochromator it should provide narrow range of wavelength. With that slits we can use quartz prism or gratings or colored filters to get the narrow range of wavelength. Now monochromator it disperses radiations according to wavelength. By moving that exit slit radiation of only particular wavelength, it leaves the monochromator through the exit slit. So here the diagram of prism and that of grating it is shown. In between that two slits, this prism or this grating it is there. What is function of this prism or grating? It disperses that polychromatic radiation, and then through the exit slit we can get our desired wavelength. So here what is function of this prism and grating? To disperse that polychromatic radiation. That is the function. Again we will see these slits. Two slits are there, entrance slit and exit slit. These two slits are placed on the opposite sides of the prism or grating or colored filter, whichever we are using. So polychromatic radiation it will pass first of all through the entrance slit. Then if we are using prism, it will pass through that prism. There it will disperse in monochromatic radiation. Then it will pass through the exit slit. Exit slit it is movable slit. So whichever wavelength that we want, depends on that we can select, we can move that exit slit and we can select our desired wavelength. So now polychromatic radiation it is converted in terms of monochromatic. So that actually we want, and then that monochromatic radiation, it will pass through our sample. Next component, it comes sample holder. What is function of this sample holder? It holds the sample. It is also called as cuvette. Whichever our sample is there, so that sample, it is dissolved in solvent. Which solvent we can use? In that solvent, that sample, it should be completely soluble. Then that solution we have to keep in this cuvette or in this sample holder. Now these sample holders are constructed of transparent material which does not absorb the radiations. So if normal glass is there, we can't use that normal glass for UV spectroscopy. Why? Because glass absorbs radiations below 350 nanometer. So we can't use it for UV spectroscopy, but we can use it for visible spectroscopy. So optically matched glass cuvettes are used for visible spectroscopy. If UV spectroscopy is there, then we have to use Corex glass, or we have to use that quartz glass cuvettes, which will not absorb that UV radiations. If the radiations are from 300 to 2500 nanometer, then here we have to use that fused glass. Next component, it comes detector. What is that detector? Now, whenever any monochromatic wavelength that will pass through our sample holder through the sample solution, so that sample, it will absorb some electromagnetic radiation, it will transmit remaining radiations. So that we have to measure. So now a detector is a transductor that converts electromagnetic radiation first of all into electron flow and then current produced thereby. So first of all, electromagnetic radiation, it will fall on that photodetector. It will convert that in terms of electron flow, that is current, and this current, it is recorded. If that current, it is minor, then we have to amplify it. If it is necessary, it can be amplified. So that detector, it also contains that amplifier. Then there is a recorder or digital display device. Various detectors are there, that is phototube, photomultiplier tube, or photovoltaic cells are used. So this detector, what it contain? It contain first of all the detector, it can contain that amplifier, and then the recorder. So first of all, that detector, it will convert that electromagnetic radiation in terms of current. Then if necessary, it can be amplified through that amplifier, and then the recorder is there or a digital display device is there. Number of examples are there of these detectors like phototube, photomultiplier tube, or photovoltaic cells are there. So now we will see one of that detector, that is phototube. What that phototube consists of? It consists of evacuated bulb, and it consists of half cylindrical metal cathode. The inner surface of this cathode is of oxides of cesium and silver. Whenever that electromagnetic radiation, it will fall on this cathode, electrons are emitted. These emitted electrons are collected by anode. Thereby it will generate the current, and if necessary, that is amplified. So this and that amplified current, it is proportional to intensity of UV visible radiations. And then comes that recorder, or it can be digital display device. So the last component, it is amplifiers and recorder. Signal received from detector, it is amplified and read on recorder. Recorder can record output either as absorption spectra, or it can be digital values as absorbance. So here amplifier, it will just amplified and then it will be sent to recorder. That recorder, it can be a printer, so there we can get directly that spectra, or we can get the digital value as absorbance. So again we will revise this diagram of single beam spectrophotometer. So here first component it comes, that is source. From that source we will get the polychromatic radiation. That polychromatic radiation, it will pass through the entrance slit first of all, then it will pass through the prism, or it will pass through the grating, whichever we have used. Then this it will disperse in monochromatic radiation. Then that monochromatic radiation, it will pass through the exit slit. That exit slit, it is movable, so we can select desired wavelength. Then that monochromatic radiation, it will pass through our sample. There it will absorb in that sample, remaining it will transmit. So that electromagnetic radiation, it will fall on the detector. There that electromagnetic radiation, it will convert in terms of electron and then current thereby, and then it will be amplified if necessary, and then it is recorded as digital display, or directly we can get our spectra. So this it is single beam spectrophotometer. Now next what we have to see? We have to see these applications of UV visible spectroscopy. Number of applications are there of this UV visible spectroscopy. Major applications only we will see. So the first application, it is qualitative analysis of organic compounds. If any unknown compound is there, if any new compound is there, we want to identify its structure, what it contains. So for that, this UV visible spectroscopy, it is very useful technique. Here what is done? Spectrum of number of known compounds are measured, then spectra of our unknown compound, it is measured, and then this it is compared with spectrum of number of known compound. Depends on that comparison, structure of our unknown compound can be identified. On what basis it is done? So first it is detection of functional group. Which functional group it is there? So if its lambda max, it is above 200 nanometer, then we can see that there can be presence of conjugation, there can be presence of carbonyl group or aromatic ring. So we have to identify, depends on the lambda max. That is, if it is above 200 nanometer, there can be presence of some multiple bond, and multiple bonds can be in conjugation, in aromatic ring, or in carbonyl group. Then the second is, that is extent of conjugation. If number of double bonds are more than that of 1, so that they can be in conjugation or they can't be in conjugation. But if their lambda max, it is shifted to longer wavelength, then we can say that double bonds are in conjugation, because if double bond it is in conjugation, it increases the lambda max towards the longer wavelength. So this, on that basis also we can identify if there is conjugation or not. Then third basis, it is distinguish between conjugated and non-conjugated double bond. If double bond it is more than that of 1, it can be conjugated, it can be non-conjugated. If the lambda max it shifted towards lower wavelength, then that double bond it can be non-conjugated. On that basis also we can identify the structure. And the last one means functional group, whenever we will identify conjugation is there or if isolated double bond is there, so on that basis we can identify the structure of our unknown or new compound by comparing the spectrum of unknown compound with that of number of known compound. Its identity, it can be confirmed. After guessing, after identifying the structure of that any unknown compound, now if we have confusion whether it is cis or trans isomer, so for that also this technique it is very useful. So this technique, it is used for distinguishing between cis and trans isomer, or if any known compound is there, and in that also if we want to identify whether it is cis and trans, in that case also we can use this UV visible spectroscopy. For that we will take one example. Here trans stilbene is there, its lambda max it is 295 nanometer. Cis stilbene structure if it is there, its lambda max it is 280 nanometer. Now if more coplanar structure is there, like in trans structure, due to less steric hindrance, its lambda max it is towards longer wavelength, and that is towards 295 nanometer. If less coplanar structure is there, like in cis, less coplanar structure is there because of more steric hindrance. So here what will happen, its lambda max it will be towards shorter wavelength, that is towards lower wavelength, so that is 280 nanometer. So depends on this, if our unknown compound it is towards longer wavelength, we can say that that can be trans structure. If it is towards shorter wavelength, we can see that this it can be cis structure. So for that also, to identify whether it is cis or trans isomer, so for that also this UV visible spectroscopy it is very useful. Third application, it is determination of molecular weight. Molecular weight can be determined by recording its absorbance using Beers-Lambert's law, that is A is equal to molar absorptivity into concentration into L. So molecular weight it can be determined by determining its concentration. Next application, it is detection of impurities. Any sample if it is there, and that sample we have to identify whether it contain impurity or it is pure. So for that also this technique it is useful. What is done here? First of all, the standard sample it is taken, its UV spectrum it is measured, then our sample it is taken and its UV spectrum it is measured. Then these two spectrum can be compared. If our sample it will contain some additional peaks, so we can identify that, we can guess that these additional peaks are because of the impurities. So our sample it is with some impurities. If it will perfect match with our standard sample, then we can see that this it is with no impurities. So additional peaks can be observed due to impurities in the UV spectrum of any compound. Then the next application it is quantitative analysis. That is, if we want to measure concentration of any solution, so there also we can use this technique. There we have to use the Beer's law. What is that Beer's law? Beer's law is absorbance directly proportional to the concentration. So concentration of that unknown compound we can calculate. This experiment we did in our lab. So there what we done, we prepared different concentrations of copper ammonia complex. Then we measure absorbance of that copper ammonia complex. Blue colored complex was there. So we measure absorbance of that known copper ammonia complex. Then we plotted a graph of concentration versus that absorbance. Then we have taken that unknown sample of that copper ammonia. Unknown sample means its concentration that we want to measure. So we measure then the absorbance of that unknown copper ammonia complex, and then from that graph we have identified the concentration of that unknown sample. So this it is nothing but the quantitative analysis. There we can measure the concentration of that unknown complex or any solution. Last application it is chemical kinetics. As absorbance is directly proportional to the concentration, again this Beer's law that we have to use. So as absorbance it is directly proportional to the concentration, with progress of reaction change in absorption occurs. With this rate of reaction can be determined. So here what is done? as absorbance it is directly proportional to the concentration. So here what is done from starting of that reaction, after some time, after 10 minutes, 20 minutes, that that solution of that reaction it is taken, its absorbance it is measured. So as there is the change in the reaction, as reactants are converted into products, so the concentration of that reactant it will change, and then this it is nothing but the progress of that reaction. So from this we can measure the rate of the reaction, or rate of the reaction can be determined. So these are some major applications of UV visible spectroscopy. It's very important application. It is nothing but the qualitative analysis to identify the structure of any unknown compound. That is major application. Then the second application it is whether it is cis or trans. So for that also this technique it is very useful. And then determination of molecular weight, its impurities, quantitative analysis and chemical kinetics of any reaction. So for that this technique it is very much useful. Thank you.